The topic is major connector design principle. Now in a major connector, so I have already covered about mandibular and maxillary major connectors from removal partial dentures. So basically major connector, it is the component of removal partial dentures which connects the one side of the, so the parts of one side of the arch to the parts of the other side of the arch. So those are your major connectors. So about them, so about the general considerations of major connector I have already covered, and in that we have seen that the major connector, it should be rigid. And in major connectors, so maxillary major connectors I have talked about. So for example, I have said, so in particular, so and so major connector, it follows the L-beam principle. Because of that, it is rigid. So what is that L-beam principle? I'm going to explain in this video. So the topic is major connector, the designs principle of it. So it is major connector, the designs principle of major connector. So the major connector, they should be selected to best suit the patient, and it should distribute the occlusal forces over a wide area, and at the same time it should produce least amount of stress. So it's like when you are constructing or when you're fabricating or designing a major connector, it should be fabricated such that it distributes the occlusal load over a wide area and it produces least amount of stress. So there are basically three principles. So the first one is L bar or L beam principle, then the second is circular, and third is strut. So starting off with the first one, that is the L bar or L beam principle. So this L bar or L beam principle is nothing but L is linear. So linear beam theory, it states that the flexibility of the bar, so the flexibility of the bar, it is directly proportional to the length of the bar. So basically it's like if the length of the bar it increases, then the major connector, so the flexibility of the bar, it also increases, and we don't want it. We want our bar, it should be rigid, and it is inversely proportional to its thickness. So basically it's like if it is more thicker, then the flexibility it reduces, and then it means it is more rigid. So this is like what the L beam theory it states. Then when a load over here, now in this diagram, when a load it is placed on the bar, so when you are applying the load on this bar which is supported at its end, so it is supported at its end. So when this is applied, so when the loads are applied, in that the maximum stress it is present in the center. So in this, the maximum stress it is present at the center, and the zero stress it is present at the supported ends. So at the supported end there is zero stress, and in the center there is maximum strength. So bar which is supported at two ends, it can be divided into two parts, that is the parabolic and the quartic part. So it is divided into two parts, parabolic and quartic. So the parabolic part, so this is the parabolic part, it forms the 2/4 of the bar. So basically this is your bar and it is divided into four parts. Then over here, this parabolic part, it forms the 2/4 of it, and the quartic it forms 1/4 on either side. So the quartic it forms the zero stress concentration side of the bar, and parabolic it is the maximum stress concentration. So this parabolic it forms the middle 2/4, and the quartic on the either side it forms the 1/4. So the parabolic it shows maximum stress, and the quartic it shows zero concentration. So hence beam principle, a bar which is supported at the ends will have various stress concentration, and those zones it depends on the distance between the support and not the length of the bar. So according to this L beam principle, so the concentration, the various stress concentration, it depends upon the distance between these two ends and not on the length of the bar. So this one is, now if the distance between the two ends it is reduced, so then the size of the quartic and the parabolic zones, they are also reduced. So over here as you can see, when we are reducing the distance between the two ends, the size of the parabolic and the quartic it also increases. So this is left over. So hence we design a bar such that it has a smaller parabolic part and a larger quartic part, because this quartic part is free of stress. So we want such a bar in which this quartic part is more. So how can this be done? And the thing is, the material, it becomes more rigid when the parabolic part is smaller and there is larger quartic part. But the material, it becomes rigid without adding the bulk to the bar. So we are not adding anything to the bar. The question is now, how do we do this? So the answer is basically, if we bend the bar on the either side, then the length of the bar which is lying on the quartic part, it will increase. Now how I'm going to explain this with this diagram. So basically it's like, now this is your, what it looks like. So this is your quartic part which forms the 25% that is on the either side, and your parabolic, it forms the 50%. So this quartic part, it is free of stress and we want more of this quartic part, and parabolic is where there is maximum of concentration. So when the load, it is applied on this bar, so the flexion of the bar occurs, which is only in the stressed parabolic part. So the middle 50% of the length, it is subjected to the flexural stress. So what we are doing is, we are bending this. So now what we have done is, we have bent this bar. This in the case of broad palatal and the palatal strap. So what we are doing is, we are applying this concept in the design of the major connector. So this is like, now your pallet over here, this diagram. So the pallet, it is like a straight wall, and there are these lateral slopes of your alveolar ridges. So it's like, if these slopes are shallow, the quartic part of the major connector, it also decreases, which leads to increased flexibility of the prosthesis under the occlusal load. So we have to keep it a point that the major connector, it should be located and designed such that it lies over a steeper slopes and not the shallow slopes. Hence, broad palatal major connector and palatal strap major connector can be fabricated with less bulk of the material but with adequate rigidity, because it extends in three planes. So this is exactly how it looks. It extends in three planes. This is the central wall of your pallet, and these are the two planes, two lateral slopes. And over here, the length of the quartic part is more than the parabolic. So this is how it looks. So over here, the length is unaltered. And what we are doing is, we are bending this bar. And when you are bending this bar, so the quartic part, it becomes more. And these are the supported ends. So the quartic, it forms 1/3 on the either side, and the parabolic, it forms the center 1/3. So it's like 33% of parabolic, and the quartic, they are 33% on the either sides. So this is like, it is bent into three planes. So over here, this is the flat part, and the remaining, this 66%. So now more than 65% of the length, it comes under the zero stress or the quartic zone, and hence it is less flexible. And this is what we want, the major connector, it should be rigid. So this was the first principle, that is L beam or L bar. So the next one is this circular configuration. So the advantage of a circle is that it is a continuous unit without an end. So any force which is acting on a circular bar, it can be easily distributed all along the circumference. So this is the circular concept of infinite force, which transfers, and there is even force distribution over here. If the load is applied on the circular thing, then there is even distribution of the forces. So the circular bar, it is more rigid than the linear bar with the same area of cross section, and it is applicable in anterior-posterior double palatal bar and a closed horseshoe type of bar. So this is how your closed horseshoe looks like. So when the force is applied on it, so there is even distribution of the forces, and it's like, these are the retainers, and this is your maxillary major connector. So this one is the concept of circular configuration. So it is used to reduce the bulk of the major connector with the circular configurations. And the last one is the stirred configuration. So stirred is nothing but a rod or a bar, and it works by resisting the longitudinal compression. So according to this, a straight bar which is bent at its end near the support is more rigid because the bent slopes of the bar, they aid to transfer the load acting on the horizontal portion. So basically it's this diagram. So the bars, they are bent at the ends. So when the force is applied, so the bar, it is subjected to greater stress and poor force distribution at its supported, when it is supported only at the ends. So it's like you are adding additional bars or rods in this configuration. So it says when you are applying force on this, so the bar, it is subjected to greater stress and there is poor force distribution, and it is when it is supported only at the ends. So this is the stressed area. But now in this one, when the same bar additionally is supported by studs, it is stronger and there is more efficient in the force distribution. So this is when you are adding more bars. So this is basically similar to the linear bar theory. The linear beam, it discusses about the stress concentration, and the stud, it discusses about the stress distribution. So over here, the major connector of the narrow vault, it is more rigid than the major connector over a shallow vault. So in other words, the major connector which is extending in two different planes, they have more rigidity. So it applies in the anterior plate of a double palatal bar. So a double palatal bar, it has two plates, anterior and posterior. So it applies on this anterior plate. So the anterior plate, it is on the slopes of the rugae area. It acts as an additional studs. So what are these rugae? So rugae are nothing but these folds. So we have seen in complete dentures also. So this is incisive papilla, this is mid-palatine raphe, and these are the rugaes. So mid-palatine raphe, and this, it act as a relief area in your complete denture, and rugaes, they act as a stress bearing area, secondary stress bearing area. So these folds, they are the crest, and between these two folds is this valley. So over here, between those two of the crest, there is this valley, and your plate, it should lie on this valley, that is this slope, and not on the crest, because then if you construct a fabricated denture which lies on the crest, then the stability of denture, it is hampered. So basically this is the stud, which is nothing but you are adding additional rods to get that rigidity. And this is the anterior posterior studs which are seen in a double palatal bar. This is the diagrammatic view of it. So this was it.